In a domestic violence case, you can be convicted, a restraining order can be granted just based on the other person's word, but not if the judge or the jury does not believe their word. And that is the whole point of cross-examination. Cross-examination, or asking the other party questions, the accuser questions, is your opportunity to test the other side's story, to break down lies, expose inconsistencies, and show the judge or jury who the witness really is. The key to effective cross-examination is knowing exactly what to go after, what triggers the witness, what contradictions they won't be able to explain, and what part of their personality they can't help but reveal. My name is Veronica. I'm a domestic violence defense attorney, and I help people throughout all of California put their cases behind them so that they can enjoy their lives and their freedom. I'm also the creator of a course called Defeat the DVRO, where I teach you how to represent yourself at a restraining order hearing and win. So if you are dealing with a restraining order, make sure to get your free first class via the link down below. Okay, so let's jump right in. Let's talk about cross-examination, how it works, and how it can be used to win your domestic violence case. Now, in Defeat the DVRO in the course, I teach you some specific techniques with templates and how to cross-examine someone, how to point out inconsistencies, how to point out missing evidence. But what's also important to keep in mind, and one of the things I always do as an attorney, is think about this. Everyone has something that they want to convey about themselves, sometimes without even realizing it. A witness might want the judge or the jury to see them as a great parent, a confident, composed person, a helpless victim who did nothing wrong. These are all very common in domestic violence cases. But the very thing that they are desperate to prove, that's often where you will find the biggest cracks in their story. When you spot those openings, you need to exploit them. Now let's get into some examples. Example number 1. A lot of witnesses in domestic violence cases want to present themselves as excellent parents. That's the reason why a lot of people file restraining orders. That's why they make false accusations of domestic violence, because they can potentially get a lot more custody. And sometimes that's because they genuinely want to be with the child. Sometimes it's because they just want more child support. And if somebody wants to present themselves as an excellent parent, sometimes their own testimony opens the door to show otherwise. For example, Fran testifies at trial that her ex, Dan, abused her multiple times. But then she adds something new, that Dan had also physically harmed their child once in the past. Now that's serious, but she never called the police about that incident. The only time that she called the police was the day that she claims that Dan hit her. So the cross goes like this. You love your child, don't you? Their safety is your top priority, and you're testifying that Dan hurt your child. But you never called 911 about that. But you did call the police when you say that Dan hurt you. Now Fran is trapped. She either admits that she knowingly let her child stay in danger and that she cared more about herself than she cared about the child, or she's going to now try to minimize this so-called child abuse. Either way, her credibility is gone. Now, this is just one part of the cross-examination against her. If this was a restraining order case, then as I teach you in the course, you would bring up the fact that she never included this in any of her paperwork. So did she not think that it was important? It's important that Dan hurt her, but not important that he hurt their child. Example number 2. Here's another pattern that we see all the time in domestic violence cases. A couple breaks up. One person doesn't take it well. They reach out again and again, and when the other person ignores them, when they're rejected, suddenly there are allegations of abuse. For example, Blair ends things with Claire. Claire doesn't take it well. She sends dozens of messages over the next few weeks, begging, apologizing, asking to talk. Blair never responds. Then Claire files a restraining order claiming that Blair was violent and threatening. In reality, Claire is just trying to get back at him because she feels bad, because she was rejected. Maybe she wants some attention from him too. So depending on the facts of the case, there are going to be a number of ways that you can cross-examine Claire, but one of them is going to be trying to trigger her to have an emotional reaction, especially if we can get her angry. So one by one, we put the text messages in front of her and point out that she never got a response to any of them. On this date, you texted, "Please just talk to me," correct? Blair didn't respond to that text, did he? You then sent another response where you said, "I love you, we're meant to be together." He didn't respond to that one, did he? The same day, you sent a third text. Now, hopefully there's one that's going to be kind of a block of text that's revealing, a little bit embarrassing, something that maybe they don't want read in court or want to see on the screen. And then we point out again, he didn't respond to this one either, did he? Now, at minimum here, we are making the point that she was pursuing him. We're making this point that she has a motive to feel frustrated. But for many people who, when they get rejected, respond by filing a false restraining order and falsely accusing someone, they have a bit of a temper. And for a lot of people in Claire's position, they start raising their voice. They start getting snippy with the attorney. They start showing the judge that they are not this innocent victim that they are making themselves out to be. Instead, they're vindictive. And the reason why they filed the restraining order is to get back at the other person. Now, the judge or the jury isn't just hearing about inconsistencies, which are important, yes, but especially for juries. Now they're seeing with their own eyes in a way that they will not forget who Claire really is, and that she wasn't afraid. Example number 3. Some witnesses come into court in domestic violence cases with a clear theme that everything that went wrong in the relationship was the other person's fault. They can't take responsibility for a single thing. That's a red flag that we want to highlight. And especially when there's infidelity involved, this comes up very frequently. For example, Kim claims that her ex Tim was emotionally abusive and controlling. She says that she feels unsafe now and she needs a restraining order. But we know that after the breakup, Kim was the one showing up to his work, threatening him, and blowing up his phone. She's not asking for protection. What she really wants is for the court to punish Tim for cheating. So across, using that evidence goes like this. You said Tim cheated on you, correct? That made you angry? You showed up at his job afterwards. You sent messages saying, you'll regret this. You sent another message that said, watch what happens. You called him over 30 times in a weekend. Now, after each one of these questions, by the way, just to be clear, you need to pause and the witness needs to answer. But we don't have the witness here today. It's just us. So these are the questions that you ask, and they are going to either say yes, or you're going to, as I teach you in the course, you're going to impeach them because you have proof that a lot of this is true. Now, if she says she's not angry, and then you have text messages where she's saying, you'll regret this, watch what happens. If she wants to say no to that question, who cares? That's fine. Because now you've shown not just that she was angry, but also that she was a liar. And that's all it takes. Now the judge or the jury sees the real motive behind the case, not fear, not self-protection, just revenge. When you let them expose themselves, not through argument, but through their own words and reactions. When done right, this is one of the most effective tools in a domestic violence defense, whether you're fighting criminal charges or a restraining order. I hope you found this video helpful. My contact information and a link to the free class in the Defeat the DVRO course is down below. And if you did find it helpful, please don't forget to like, subscribe, ring the bell, and if you have a question or comment, leave a comment.